I have another message that comes from a fella named DIY Pete. He emailed me and said, hey, I've got this white gel material underneath my oil filter cap, my 710 cap, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. What is this material that's building up there? I'm concerned that my engine might be at risk. Well, Pete, there's no concern there. From what you've told me, you maintain the vehicle very well. You keep up on anything that you see fit that needs to be looked at. What I would suggest is less short trips, or warming your vehicle up a little bit if you're going to take a short trip and then shut it off. Now, here's the misconception. A lot of people think that when you take trips, you should always let your vehicle warm up first. That is not correct. Let me explain why. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that, more in depth. Imagine taking a beer can and setting it out on a deck, or on your porch, or a cold soda can or something like that, a cold glass of water. You come from the inside where it's nice and cooled, and you go out to a 90-degree day and you set it down in the sun. It's super hot outside, and all of a sudden that moisture starts to collect on the outside of that glass, the beer can, the soda can. What ends up happening is, when you let your vehicle warm up and you're going to take a short trip, you take that moisture that's building up on the inside of that engine, and it basically gets pulled right down into the oil and stuff like that. It's kind of like a little bit vaporizes, real nice, cool moisture compared to running the vehicle for a long time, where the vehicle has a chance to burn that off. You go out to the vehicle, you start it up, you let it run a few minutes, enough for it to get warm. Then you jump in the vehicle, you ride down to the corner store, like you've said. You make a lot of short trips because of COVID and stuff like that, and then you shut it off. And you go inside, the vehicle starts to cool back down again. You do your shopping with your family. Sometimes that can take a while. You start the vehicle back up, you go back home, you shut it back off again. Now you're creating moisture, it's pulling it down into the oil, doesn't have enough time to burn it off. It's going to try to find the highest point, which would be oil filter cap, top of the valve cover area. It's going to accumulate. It's going to turn into this like gel type material. So as you got crankcase vapors and stuff floating around, and then you got moisture up there sitting in top of that cap, it makes this yellowish white gel type material that collects inside that cap. The best thing for you to do, pull that cap off, wipe it out. If you're gonna make a short trip, in that instance, I would say please warm your car up at least 10 minutes before you actually go take your trip. Give your vehicle enough time to actually burn off any of that excessive moisture inside that. You will go from a cold engine to a hot engine, back to a cold engine again, and then you come back out and start it again. There's a lot of condensation built up there. There's a lot of accumulation. That's why you're seeing that gel underneath the cap. Too many short trips, not getting the engine hot enough and actually letting it run for a little bit to actually burn off that moisture, and then in turn you get that collection under the cap. Now, is it good to warm your vehicle up before you take a long trip? The answer to that question, I would say, is no. And here's why. In this aspect, if you're going to be driving 15-20 minutes, there's no reason to warm your car up first. When you go out there and you let it sit there and you let it idle and idle, kind of like I'm doing right now, which I'm going to be taking a long trip, I let the vehicle warm up quite a bit before I came here. I shouldn't have done this, but I'm making a video for you guys. I need to be stopped and safe from being on the road driving while I'm on my phone, which I do sometimes, but now I've got this handy dandy phone holder here, big heavy duty honking thing, so where I can do that from now on and not have my hands on the phone. You are trying to expand rings, you're trying to get everything to warm up, you're trying to let the vehicle get into closed loop. What I mean by that is, at the time, nothing's being monitored as the vehicle's warming up, as long as everything's stoichiometric, if you know what I'm saying. It's pretty efficient overall, fuel-wise. As everything starts to warm up, the vehicle goes in a closed loop and it starts monitoring things more closely to make sure everything's up to par. Now, that time that you go out there and you let it run and sit and idle, you're also accumulating vapors and stuff inside the engine. You're also letting things kind of get into areas and stuff that have not completely expanded. You're also pulling down excessive fuel vapors and some moisture down into the oil. Now, if you were taking a short trip, that would benefit you more than actually jumping in the vehicle, going to the corner store, shutting it off, starting the vehicle back up, going back home. That's where you start accumulating that gel. The excessive warm-ups on or before long trips create fuel oil type contamination. There's a pro and a con to everything. Long trips have enough time to burn off all the excessive amount, so there's no reason to really let the vehicle sit there and idle, because it causes unnecessary excessive wear. Chances are by the time you get in the vehicle and get a few miles down the road, it's going to be warmed up anyway. So there's a pro and a con to this, if you know what I'm saying. If you're going to be taking a 15-20 minute trip, jump in the car, start it up, and go. If you're going to be taking a short trip, warm the vehicle up a little bit before you get in that car and go to that corner store and then turn around and come home. There's a difference. The short trips need more time to burn off the moisture. The long trips have enough time to burn off the moisture. Thank you. I hope this answers your question.